Have you ever come across wood as hard as this? It's like we've just ordered a giant xylophone. Let me show you what on earth we're up against. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be updating you on a couple of things that we've been up to this week, but also a bit of a revelation which I wasn't expecting. So come up here and I'll show you the new arrival, but equally the new challenge that we've got. So this week we took delivery of these new fence posts. We've got a whole load of fencing to do over the coming months, and we changed our minds on what we were going to use. So in the past we used creosote posts, then we switched to a tannalized post, but bearing in mind a lot of this was going to go along kind of watercourses and just in general the desire not to use too much treatment, we've found an alternative, which is this. It's called robinia. Okay, so like I said, this is called robinia, and it is a hardwood. It's also known as false acacia or black locust. Black locust is what they call it in the States. Anyway, I'm going to show you a couple of things about this which I hadn't anticipated. Firstly, you'll notice that they're quite rustic, and I didn't mind that. I was expecting that. The other option for us was to use chestnut posts, but this is less about the fencing side of things and more about this wood, because most of the fencing will be on the DIY farm channel, but I just haven't come across this sort of density of wood before. And we've done quite a bit of woodworking and oak framing and things like that. So I guess the easiest way on camera, at least, to show you how dense these are just by the sound. They are almost like a really high-pitched ring to them, rather than the sort of dull sound you would get if I was to hit a piece of softwood. Okay, not quite scientific, I know. The next problem was the fixings, and this is what I found out. Staples are hard going. Okay, first things first, let me show you what a staple into a softwood post. In this case, this is just a telegraph pole or an old pylon that's being used as a corner strainer. So this is as hard as softwood gets, I would suggest. So this is a 40mm staple. Ooh. Which goes in absolutely fine, and that's, like I say, pretty hard timber. If we were going into a regular standard softwood post that you buy nowadays, probably go in even easier. And they're as thick as staples get. Right, now we'll take a look at some of these bigger posts. So these are still the same robinia wood as all these posts are, but these are an 8 to 10 inch posts, which we'll be using for gate posts, really big strainers in the corners. So this in particular is an absolute whopper, and there is no give in it, it's not wobbling around. So this should be as hard as anything, there's no resistance. So this should really go in if it was softwood. So we'll go in a little bit of an angle there. We'll start it off. So four bangs and we're already distorting the staple. And if I was to continue, it's just game over. And then here you can see where I've had another go. I started tapping it in, seeing if I could drive in each side. It's just an absolute non-starter. Next thing I tried yesterday when I was actually getting some of the posts in the ground, and I had to tack up some single strand wire. I had some 30mm staples, which are also a slightly thinner gauge. And those ones, they'll just about go in. They're not barbed, and they might not be up to actually straining the full fence, but at least we've got that option. So before I actually tried those 30mm staples, I thought it was game over. So I decided to pick up a tool. So Tom's been helping us with the fencing over the past year, and between him and Rob, and they've got a DeWalt fencing stapler, and because they're busy and flat out with other work, they're not going to be able to help on this job, or certainly not as much as I'd hoped. So we need to get on and do it ourselves, and that's meant I've had to order one. And it just so happens that Milwaukee, which I've never owned a Milwaukee tool before, apart from your heated jacket, is the only Milwaukee thing we own. They've just released this, which is a fencing stapler. And it wasn't cheap. God, it's not going to be light either. Oh, I don't know, it's probably lighter than the nail gun, my Hitachi. So there, look. We've just driven in by hand those 40mm, and they do 2 other sizes. Unfortunately, I should have ordered 40mm, I've ordered 45s. So I've got to hope that this will drive in 45s. That's probably a mistake on my part. It's got a battery in it. Has it got enough to rest the test?
Well, it says it will do it.
I know it does, but it doesn't know we're shooting into blooming steel posts. Right, let's have a look. I'll still be using these because there's a lot of top strands of wire that I need to put on the softwood posts anyway. They're nicely barbed. I'm definitely thinking 40mm might have made sense. You can but try. All right, so here we go. This is it. It's a good looking bit of kit and it's an expensive bit of kit. I think it was about £600, but I found that the prices for these varied a heck of a lot. So we're shopping around. Anyway, let's have a look at how this performs in robinia. Okay, ready? Got a fancy little light there, and this should sink it all the way in. Or not. These are 45mm staples, and as you can see, they are just not liking it at all. You can just about tap these in by hand, finish off by hand, but that's an expensive way to start off a staple. But to avoid any doubt, and the fact that this is a decent bit of kit, and I will be using it because I've still got to go around and put single strands on about 2 kilometers of fencing. Let's just show you what it is like on these softwood posts. So again, this is a hard, solid post here, but this is, and there is a setting on here. We are maxed out at the moment, so there's no more for it to give on those other posts, but this is what it should be like. You see all the way in. That is more than enough. We should be, with all of our high tensile wire, leaving it slack so that the wire can slide through. This is just some old mild steel fencing. So with that in mind, the only thing I could think is to order the 40mm staples. These are 45s. 40 is more than enough. They're already barbed, so there's no chance they're going to pull out. So although I did test fire this yesterday, I haven't tried the 40, so let's try that first thing. Now, whilst you're on camera, they are a really decent solid staple. So these are the Milwaukee ones for their gun. So we'll load up some of those. We'll take out the last few 45s. So there you go. Only 5mm in it, exactly the same gauge. So I'm not expecting massive differences, but we know I'm going to end up using both boxes. There we go. So you can probably get two lots on at a time. Same power. So that is the 45, and we'll just put in a 40. It's a fully charged battery as well. Yep. If you come down here, yeah, do you know what? I think certainly for the high tensile wire where we want a gap, that is acceptable. Maybe if I give it 2 knocks with a hammer, if it is standing out that much. Yeah, they just distort. Same sort of situation as the normal staples. And if you were to try and hand finish this, the whole thing just squares off. Right, just to give you a little bit of a comparison, because this video really is just a bit of an SOS. Have you ever come across timber this hard? When I looked up yesterday on the timber database, this is about twice the density of oak, I think. 3 times or more harder than chestnut, which was the next available fencing for us if we wanted to go with hardwood. I can see the benefits. It's one of the most durable timbers out there. It's not prone to rot or anything like that. It's super hard wearing. It's sustainable as far as the fact that it just grows everywhere across Europe, and it's come in the same distance as all the rest of the fencing you can order. So I don't have any problems with it, just simply apart from these fixings not going in. One of the issues is, if you imagine these 6-foot stakes are going to get driven in about 2 feet into the ground, because we leave 4 foot above ground. There's more sideways wobble, so you haven't got that sort of resistance when you're stapling. So if you're hand stapling, it can be a right nightmare. So a gun can usually be a good option, but the recoil off this, I don't know how it's going to perform. I mean, we could try one, still upside down, so the staple will end up hidden anyway. And that, you can see, is still not going. It's probably far enough. They're not going to pull out. They're still longer than we need. because these are so dense, you could get away with 30, but you can't order 30 staples for these. A little bit like I was showing you on that softwood strainer, I don't want you to doubt this tool because I'm pretty impressed with it, apart from the fact how we've married it up to that timber. Let me just show you it in a few of the hardwoods. We've got hardwood sleepers, which are Dura, I think. Is that what they call them, the old railway sleepers? I think we've got a bit of oak around. We'll just do a quick run around before it gets dark and just show you what how it's performed in all the different timbers. This could actually be quite a hard test because this is super hard wood, these railway sleepers. I don't believe that. Were you expecting that? No. I thought this was going to be really hard. I don't know where this hardwood's from. There's actually absolutely no recoil on this going into there either. Okay, so here, that is... It really does work. Yeah, so that is Dura, I think it's called. Right, so this is a softwood paste like all around the farm. Absolutely no bother. I'm not going to drag Eden round just to find an oak beam in the workshop because I simply think that the oak probably would be the same density as those railway sleepers anyway. So basically what we've ended up with is an awful lot of stupidly hard timber posts that we need to get a move on and install, but also make sure we can staple into them. 30mm staples by hand are one answer. 40mm staples by hand can work, providing you use a special tool, which should be with me on Monday. I'm going to try that out. It's kind of a captive, almost like a bolster. You slide the staple in and you can knock it in by hand, and it doesn't allow the staple to spread. So I'll be trying that out. But all these things I'll probably be trying out in and amongst the fencing videos, which are going to be on the DIY Farm channel. Hence why we haven't had a video out this week on the cabin or any of the other rest of the building side of things. So if you want to check that out, first video that went up last week was all of this stuff arriving. Craig came over. Fortunately, he's got a loader. He unloaded everything, and whilst he was here, he had the small knocker for his Avant, and we went down the field and we knocked in the big post, and that left Eden and I to spend her half term knocking in and straining. Well, we've made up the strainers each end. Hopefully that video, making up box strainers, will tie in with releasing this video, so that'll be up. You can head over and watch that, and then after that it's just a whole load of grunt work for me. I've knocked probably all 100 posts in by hand now and strained all the wire, and hopefully by tomorrow I can finish off the ends and get it all strained up with the top strands as well. Before I go any further, I must do a mention that the new merchandise is being slowly added to the website, and first up it's our hoodies. You can see I'm wearing one now, and Jo also has her edition. We're going to get those added up to the shop, and we're using a local business to get all these made up, and we'll be sending them out in batches. So if you want to get hold of one, you can do so by heading over to the link. We'll put it down in the description. Also, the farm shop is fully stocked now. We've also got bacon and all the good stuff over in there, so you can order. So there we go, robinia. Have you ever come across it before? And what did you do? I don't think that it's going to suffer from the other issues you can have when we use oak and things like that, where you have to use stainless steel fixings. So the fact that it's really hard, really durable, and we can use regular galvanized fixings is a win-win. A lot of times when you see kids' play parks or outdoor equipment and things like that, it's quite often this style. They're more than often than not rustic, they're peeled, and you can see some of these quite curvy. It's going to be like knocking bananas in. It's not that easy either because you've got no level to put spirit level on. And I'm not too fussed. When it's up in the hedgerow, it's going to look really nice. And you can see by this older batch here that they've darkened down a bit. I think they're just going to like blend into the hedges, which is quite nice. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. If you've got any thoughts on this, let me know. But if you haven't subscribed to the DIY Farm channel, make sure you do that now and you'll be able to follow along. We've got about 3 or 4 videos on this particular fencing run. That was my warm-up gig, and then I'm just full at it for the next few weeks and see if I can get the rest of it done. There's about 1.5 kilometres, and hopefully I can rope in some help. Of course, we've got our hedge planting weekend at the end of November, so it'd be good to kind of break the back of the fencing before that and make sure we're all geared up. All the hedging is ordered and it's on the way. 3,500 trees, plants to get in the ground, so it's going to be a busy old month. I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself. We'll see you next time.